Spa 2024. Where did that come from? How, how did Hamilton and Russell, to be fair, how did Hamilton and Russell suddenly find all that speed, especially when it was warmer than it's ever been and their car's supposed to favour the cold? What's going on? I mean, they took the upgrades off after Friday because they thought, well, they weren't sure. Let's face it, Friday was a non-event. Wet running, nobody knew anything. They went into the whole Grand Prix weekend completely mystified as to what was going to be fast and what wasn't, how much the track was going to be grippy or not, because it had been resurfaced as well, and if the tyre deg was going to be extreme or was it going to get better, and all of the above. It's just incredible. It was shaping up to be a pretty boring race after quite an interesting qualifying, especially with Verstappen, who just annihilated the competition in qualifying. Qualifies first, but 10th place grid penalty, drops to 11. Fine. We'll maybe get to see him scything his way through the field like he did the previous last 2 years. But no. We get a start. Perez is on the front row, number 2. Leclerc, driving out his skin, like he sometimes does for qualifying, has put it on effectively pole because he was second to Verstappen. And then, boom, Hamilton gets a great start. Him and Perez hold each other up, kind of letting Leclerc away, and you think, whoa, the Ferrari's off. Even breaks the DRS, I think. He was more than a second ahead at one point. But then Hamilton just starts to reel him in, and next thing you know, lap 3, Hamilton's leading. And to be fair, led effectively for most of the race. And did a brilliant job. And not a Hamilton fan, but hey, driving out his skin, does a great job. Everything's looking good for the win. He does his second stop. He's on his last set of tyres. Everything's looking great. And then George goes, oh, I think I'll go to the end on these and just stop once. And everybody's like, no way. And yet, yeah, Hamilton catches him towards the end, but he just can't get by him. And that's maybe a function of the reduced DRS on the Kemmel Straight. And that's not a bad thing because two cars, and we'll get to it, two identical cars, it should be difficult for them to pass each other. But they weren't identical, were they? Because although George won on the track, his car was lighter than everybody else's. And some are saying that's 3/10. So there you go. 3/10 is 3/10. That's a lot. Even over 44 laps, it's still a lot. So George gets disqualified. Hamilton, who looked really grumpy on the in the cool down room, he didn't even look at George. It's like, I mean, I would have given George his place. If he come up with that strategy on the fly, then it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm not a George fan either. But Hamilton was really grumpy, and there was no need for that. He's not, maybe he's not such a sportsman as you think, and maybe that's why I'm not a great fan of him. But anyway, Hamilton gets his first place. George is devastated, quite rightly so. But what was going on with Toto? Because when George won that race, Toto didn't even crack a smile. He knew at that point that that car wasn't going to be legal, and the chances were they were going to get caught out, and they were caught out. So Mercedes went from a 1-2 to a 1, which isn't still a bad result, and then everybody else gets bumped up the standings. And let's talk about everybody else. Piastri completely outclassed Lando. Completely outclassed him. Yep. I'm a big Lando fan. You need to improve your starts, mate. There's no point in out qualifying your opponent if he's going to beat you on every start and then he's going to race better. So you really got to get your shit together, Lando. Have a good break over the summer break and come back and start fighting properly because you're slipping back. Piastri's going forward. It's meant to be your team. So that was McLaren, now in second. And fourth, I think. So third was Charles. No, fourth would have been Verstappen. So Verstappen even managed to out leap Lando. Leclerc managed to hang on for third. And, he outperformed the car. There's no doubt about it. He outperformed the car. That car shouldn't have been third. It should have been fifth. So great job. Great job, Charles. Fantastic. Sainz was way down in seventh. Alternative strategy that didn't pan out? Yeah, probably. Didn't work at all. Just didn't work at all. Perez, who started second, finished what? Sixth? How did that happen? I mean, Verstappen started 11th, finished fourth. Perez goes backwards. Checo, this was your last shot, and I think you're out, mate. I really do. I think Red Bull are going to kick you out, and it's going to be sad to see you go, but I think you've lost it. I think Danny Ric did enough, especially since he's now been elevated to one point for that race because he's just scrapes in number 10. So I think you're out. We'll see what happens, but after it, Sky had a brief word with Danny, and he looked pretty happy. I think he knows in his heart of hearts that he's done enough, and Checo just hasn't. He just hasn't done enough. So I think Danny's out, and I think Liam Lawson's in. He'll take over. Sorry, I think Checo's out. Daniel will take Checo's seat, and Liam Lawson will take Daniel's seat at Red Bull or Racing Bulls. And Tsunoda will be mad, but Tsunoda's not getting a seat in the big car because Tsunoda would. He did it in the race. I told you this is exactly what Tsunoda would do. He would try and outperform Max. And what happened in the race? Max caught him up, and it was for position. And Tsunoda did everything he could to keep him behind him. Didn't help him at all. Did everything he could to keep him behind him. So, yeah, it's racing, but you know what? That's impressing nobody because effectively it's the same team. And, you're not going to impress Marco and Horner by holding up Verstappen. You just aren't. So, great job, Yuki. And you know what, Yuki? Suck it up, mate, because your time will come. Your time will come. And I think your time will come in Aston Martin. So we'll see how that goes. So there you go. And the Aston Martins, they need to get back on form. Just abysmal. Everybody else, everybody else so. Nobody's really setting the heather on fire, apart from the top four. So not a bad race, not a great race. Exciting towards the end when Hamilton caught George and just couldn't get by. And that was good. And then Piastri was catching them hand over fist. And that was looking good as well. Another couple of laps, and I think you'd have seen a different result on the circuit. I think you'd have seen Hamilton first, Piastri second, George third. But we didn't get to see that because it's not a short race, but it's low in laps race because the circuit's so long. So there we go. We're on the summer break, and what's going to happen? Probably not a lot. I don't know when Red Bull will let it slip that Checo's not coming back. I might be completely wrong. We'll see what happens. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was quite good. And I'm glad it didn't rain on this occasion because I think we had enough towards the end that it gave us a bit of excitement. It was, however, too much of a tactical race at the start with the tyres. And, they all knew the tyres were going to last forever. As soon as they looked at the first set of tyres that came off and there was still stacks of life in them. So, let's face it, everybody knew at that point that those tyres would have gone a lot further than they ever did. So I'm not quite sure why they all started. Well, they would. It's a chain reaction. One pits and the other one pits to cover them off, and the chain reaction just goes on. Oh, let me mention, what happened to Max? What happened? I know the car's probably set up more for the middle section because he was mighty in it, but what happened to him? Because this isn't the Max Verstappen we saw. He was very subdued. Has he had a visit to the vet and had them chopped? Because he was really, really quiet. Has he been muzzled? His helmet turned him down from a super aggressive to be a nice boy just for one race? Because he was quiet. He didn't say much on the radio, or he didn't say much on the radio that we get broadcast. and he didn't seem to have the same aggression. What happened? Have they been slipping something into his tea, keeping him down? I don't know. But yeah, not the Max Verstappen I expected to see at Spa. We'll see if he comes back in Zandvoort. So that should be interesting. Have a good break. But I'll dip in now and again, and we'll still have some